because the threepenny bit had 12 sides.
12 sides,
right.
apparently, yeah. We were trying to figure out what is something that has 12 sides? Is it a dodecahedron?
Dodecahedron, thank you.
Yeah. Which, as you can probably gather, we are now looking through the newspapers.
8:35, we're going...
Yeah. Joanna Williams is with us, and also John McTernan. They're here to look through the papers. And Joanna, I can't believe this story, except I can. It's to do with the drought and the hosepipe ban.
It is. Well, we've had water in the news already in the paper review this morning, haven't we, when we looked at the huge bonuses being awarded to the bosses of some of these water companies. We know they dump sewage in the sea at the first sign of a storm, and we've also had drought and hosepipe bans rumbling on all summer. But yeah, this story is very, well, it's infuriating. Police have begged nosy neighbours to stop clogging up 999 phone lines to snitch on their neighbours.
Really?
Yeah, but it gets worse, I'm afraid. It gets worse. This is in a part of the country where there isn't even a hosepipe ban. This is in Devon and Cornwall, and they're going to have a hosepipe ban, but it's not yet been implemented, so there is no hosepipe ban in Devon and Cornwall right now.
But actually clogging up 999 lines.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I'm laughing, and I'm laughing kind of because I'm shocked and angry that this is happening. But actually, I'm just thinking there's a really, really serious downside to this. I mean, real serious problem here, because if the phone lines are clogged up, and we've already seen another story in the news this morning about problems getting through to the ambulance service, delays there. You know, there will be people who are facing genuine emergencies, either needing an ambulance or fire or police, fire service or police officers to come out to them, and they can't get through because people are so busy snitching on their neighbours.
I mean, it is actually against the law to dial 999 for anything other than a real emergency. But I guess, you know, all they can do is be told off.
Yeah.
You know, can't follow that up, really.
No, you can't. I mean, if you prosecute everybody who wastes police time for wasting police time, the courts will be full.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on then to the leadership battle, the latest.
Well, this is a story, the front page of the Financial Times, with Liz Truss, who's the favourite, I think, to become the next Prime Minister, saying that she's going to shake up city regulation. It's hardly any time since the global financial crisis and the bank crash, which led to the separation of all these regulators, so that the Bank of England didn't do everything, that the regulators failed. They were asleep at the wheel. And the idea to merge everything back together again when we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis, when there's a recession coming and a slump, and I'm not clear that banks have cleaned up all their acts since the Great
So
Crash.
what is Liz Truss suggesting?
She's suggesting that all of the regulators that are separate now should be, you know, the Financial Conduct Authority, the Prudential Regulatory Authority, and the Payment Systems Regulator should go into one new organisation. Now, 3 chief executives into one, and obviously it saves some costs and top-line figures, but the danger is those are very different jobs. They were separated before, and the risk, particularly with people over-borrowing and the mortgages, what if interest rates go up? We're heading for some really tight times. I wonder whether it's the right time to be shaking up regulation.
And she's also talked about altering the remit for the Bank of England at a time when monetary policy is key to the future of the economy. And on one reflects, I mean, Boris Johnson used that phrase, the human hand grenade. Is that another repeat that she just gives
I think that was Dominic Cummings.
Dominic Cummings,
yes, that phrase. He's the phrase maker. I definitely think that Liz Truss, and I've known her for a few years and watched her career, and I've tipped her for the top a while back. She's definitely a change maker. She will be restless in number 10. And the question is, take that energy and direct it to the biggest issues. The NHS we've been talking about all morning. The cost of living we've been talking about all morning. Settling the pay disputes we've been talking about all morning. Changing regulatory structures, changing the Bank of England remit, it doesn't seem to be second on her. Well, I think it's easy to attack bureaucrats, yes, easy to attack top heavy. But if you're going to do that, why not attack the fat cats and the water companies?
Well, yes. But we do need to keep in mind that mistakes clearly have been made at the Bank of England. I mean, for such a long time, we forget now, the Bank of England insisted that inflation wasn't going to be a problem, that throughout 2 years of lockdown, we could print money and put a stop to people going to work, and there wouldn't be inflation. And then when there was talk of inflation, we were told it would be transitory, and now they've had to revise their estimates of what inflation inflation would be upwards every single month for the past 6 months, and they're trying to play catch-up now by trying to raise interest rates. But I mean, a lot of people would argue that this is too little too late.
Although one might reflect, the Fed's done the same in America.
Successfully.
But I mean, this should have been, why weren't they having their eye on the ball?
Asleep at the wheel.
So I think when we look at this story, I think we do need to think that a lot of people would be sympathetic to the thought that change is needed.
Maybe particularly Conservative Party members.
Oh yes, that's one thing that we need to understand. Who's the audience for these comments?
Yeah.
The audience isn't the city. The audience isn't us. The audience isn't the country.
It's people
No.
who've got a vote still. Move on to a summer of rage, according to the Times, John.
Yeah, I mean, this is another story which just absolutely beggars belief. I mean, it's just incredible. We know that there's been a real spate of killings, sadly, in London, and it particularly seems to have ramped up over the past few weeks. It says there's been 6 killings in London in less than a week, including the one that's been on the front page of lots of newspapers over the past couple of days. The absolute tragic stabbing of this pensioner, Thomas O'Halloran, 87-year-old man, in his mobility scooter.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should add a man's now been charged with murder and will appear in Williston Magistrates Court later. Lee Byer, aged 44, of Southall. So clearly the legal process is underway.
Well, thank goodness, and that's good. But this story in the Times is about the London Mayor Sadiq Khan being interviewed on London radio about this yesterday, about basically what he was going to do and why this was happening. And he's basically said, this is down to longer days, i.e. summer, the school holidays and hot weather. Well, that's a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, it's offensive, isn't it, and insulting?
Yes, and it's always known anyway with hot weather that it gets to a certain heat. A certain heat can cause unrest. People get bad temper. But then when it gets very much hotter than that, apparently the likelihood of being violent goes down again. And we've had record heat.
There's no doubt there's lots of tension around, but this is really not about the weather. It's about the fundamental failure of the Metropolitan Police, and they have to be held to account for this. If when young people, when older men, when young women are not safe on the streets of London, what are the police doing?
No, I think John's absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's hot every year. We don't, thank goodness, see this spate of
days get longer every year.
Yeah. This is no excuse.
I mean, what sort of policing are we talking about? Is it back to Bobby's on the beat?
I think a lot of people would like to see that.
Community policing, basic community policing. There's all PCSOs. I think it's very reassuring, and also they get a lot of intelligence when they're out.
Daily Mail. This England, which is Kenneth Branagh's Boris drama show.
I'm really looking forward to this.
The drama show wasn't dramatic enough in real life.
It's September, I think. It's going to be on our screens. There's a spread of photographs in the Daily Mail showing Ken Branagh doing an amazingly impressive impersonation of it's quite a bit of makeup, and quite a bit of body weight added to him, but looking really good. And it's by Michael Winterbottom, who's a very, very good filmmaker. And I think this could well be the best political hit of the season, actually.
Yes.
It is inside number 10.
Yes, I was going to say, it's about his premiere.
It's about his premiership. It's got Dom Cummings. It's got Carrie. So it's got a lot of drama, and there's
that's
illness.
I mean, are they just
illness.
telling the story, or are they actually going to use it as a bedrock to add drama to it?
I think it's a dramatisation of what was actually quite a dramatic part of our history, our recent history, and a dramatic part of Boris Johnson's life, because he went through the roller coaster. So I'm really looking forward to it. Branagh's a great actor. See him on our screens,
and there's been some absolutely brilliant sort of. Not documentaries, but
There
dramatisation.
was that film about the Brexit campaign, which made Dom Cummings into a pin-up.
There was one about Tony Blair and Gordon Brown.
Yeah, there's the one about the Queen. I mean, the Crown. There's a lot. I think this contemporary history being shown through drama is a great new innovation, and it's really looking forward to what we're going to learn.
Is it a bit too soon after the event, though? Because really to get a correct viewpoint, you have to stand back.
I think it may be a bit soapy rather than historical, but it's things are moving so fast. It's almost like it's such a long time ago since Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. The pandemic even long before it. We're now in the era of Liz Truss.
He is still actually.
We are.
That's true.
Still actually Minister, and we've not yet seen Liz Truss take over. I mean, the thing this says to me, and it's sad actually, that many people in the media and even in the political class will actually miss Boris Johnson once he's gone, despite the fact that they campaigned so enthusiastically, exactly, for the stories, for the drama, because they actually gave them a sense of purpose and a sense of mission to define themselves against him. It kind of reminds me how well into the 2000s, if you watched BBC comedy shows, the jokes were still being targeted against Margaret Thatcher, because it was like, you know, here's a pantomime villain, a baddie who we can all...
And if you watch Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, still, no matter how old it is,
Still accurate.
25, 30 years old, it's still dead accurate. And the same things come up again and again and again.
Absolutely.
And are coped with in, frankly, much the same way. We'll have to leave it there for the moment.